So Far Cry's been around for over 20 years at this point. Originally came out in 2004, the original, made by Crytek but published by Ubisoft. Ubisoft retained the rights of the Far Cry license, and between that and the second game, they didn't know what to do. They kind of just tried to reinterpret Crytek's design of the original Far Cry, but on consoles. But honestly, that didn't translate that well onto consoles. But it wasn't until Far Cry 2 where they kind of got like their idea for the formula, where they turned it into an open world, not sandbox at that point. I'd say it was still quite linear, Far Cry 2, but Far Cry 3 is where they kind of got the formula and they didn't really move away from it too much from there. I'm in the camp that I think it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think each Far Cry game has its own unique package with mechanics and setting. But there's one game in the franchise that I feel people don't really talk about, and that's Far Cry Primal, that I'm going to be talking about today, as I've been playing it on Xbox Game Pass. I got Game Pass recently, and I've just been playing random games. And Far Cry Primal, me being a massive fan of the Far Cry series, I never really played it. Well, to tell a lie, I did a bit back in 2019, but I just couldn't get into it. Where for some reason this time it's just clicked with me. But Far Cry has been around for 20 plus years. It's been a long time since we've had a Far Cry. I think it's been 5 years since Far Cry 6, which is kind of insane at the time recording this anyway. And there are rumblings of a new Far Cry, but today I thought I'd just like to talk about um, the often forgotten child in the Far Cry series, and that's Far Cry Primal. It's kind of a mixed bag with people's opinions of this game, although a lot of people that I've encountered online when I've been talking about this game via TikTok and Instagram, they've said this game's actually fantastic. Some people said it's their first Far Cry game back in the day, and they went back and played the older ones. But I feel talking about it now, after kind of giving it a fair chance this time, not clouded by other games at the time when I first tried it out. To put it short, I really like it. I think the setting's unique. I think the mechanics from the Far Cry formula work really well in this setting. But enough of that. Let's get into Far Cry Primal, shall we? So Far Cry Primal doesn't take place in modern era, or what is modern era in each Far Cry installment. Instead, it takes place in 10,000 BC. And what I like about the intro of this game is that it starts off in the timeline. You see the number of what year it is, current year, which at the time of this game's release, it was 2016, and then it goes back, and it keeps going back, and it keeps going back, and you hear the different hums and noises of each period of history. You hear the hums of like what was modern era to like the chanting of churches in the medieval period, and then you finally get to 10,000 BC. And when I heard the rumors about this game back in the day, where Ubisoft were going to set it in like the Neolithic era, I thought it was like, what? That can't be true. It just sounds like something you'd hear these days in rumor mills of gaming. Like, yeah, they completely made that up. But no, it was completely true. And I was like, okay, that's interesting when they finally announced it, because Far Cry, in essence, with its story and characterization with each protagonist in the game, is about going back to the titular primal instincts of human beings, of where we hunt and kill each other, and to see the sort of like origins of man, basically, and we're going back to that with 10,000 BC. In essence, is interesting, and ultimately it is interesting. The narrative, not so much, but I think like the gameplay mechanics that surround the setting itself work. But the story in this game is pretty simple. You play as Takar. He is part of the Winja tribe. His tribe are ambushed at the start of the game, where you're hunting woolly mammoths, and your tribe is ambushed by a saber-tooth tiger, and you get separated from the rest of your tribe. And basically, the overall story and context of the game is to reunite and get new members of the Winja tribe. And you do that through various tasks in the open world, and you meet various specialists and basically lieutenants to bolster your tribe. But unfortunately, you're not the only tribe, and the land you're in is called Oros, and it's supposed to take place in Central Europe. And you're not the only tribe in Oros, so you have the Udam, which are a tribe of cannibals who are, well, not particularly friendly. And then what's the other tribe called? God, I've completely lost the name of them, but they specialize in fire. They're called the Sun Sisters, basically. They're they're not too friendly when they set people on fire. So yeah, happy people, and you're probably like the more peaceful tribe, and I hesitant to use the word peaceful with your tribe because you're just as bad at killing people too. But that's the way humanity was back then, and you were there to survive, to hunt, and hunting and gathering is ultimately the overall theme and context of this game, which I'll get to in gameplay in a minute. But what I like about this game is the dialogue, and you would think like, oh, they probably just do English with heavy accents. No, they didn't do that. They hired actual language experts for this game to kind of come up with a dialogue system of how they may have sounded back in 10,000 BC. And yeah, it works. It works really well.
Orosom krekti wersi. Silach. Ja, wer. Moheochte. Oi, megi beresi. Oi. Battare. Aquai bidam. Silachwe! Hjortsti wersi! Tod! Wenjawe! Achtor!
You're quite engaged with it. The voice acting is great. You got the larger than life characters like you do in other Far Cry games, like the shaman who wears the wolf skin on his head. He's great, and let's just say he does some vulgar things to certain people, aka urinating on some people. But hey ho. But yeah, the dialogue works really well. They get across what they mean. Obviously, there's subtitles, so you understand what they're saying. But even if you didn't have subtitles, you would understand what they're going on about, because obviously, where sort of like standardized English or human dialogue wasn't there yet, they use a lot of hand gestures, like emphasizing like elements like fire or water, that sort of thing. And because some tribe members, they obviously don't talk, so they don't understand what dialogue is, but it works really well, the dialogue that they came up with in this game. And I found it quite engaging because the voice acting is fantastic. But that's enough of the story and the context of the narrative. Let's get into the gameplay, shall we? So in essence, this is just another Far Cry game, if you want to put it so cynical. But it adds some different things, because for one, you don't have any guns, because it's 10,000 BC. So you have bows, you have clubs, you have spears, you have variations of the different weapons. Like you have the longbow, which is the sniper rifle. You have the two-handed club, that sort of thing, and you can upgrade these weapons throughout your endeavors and adventures. But you have the compounds, you have the towers, or in this case they are bonfires in this game, and it all works really well. But you will be hunting, you will be gathering to upgrade your camp, your weapons, and your effectiveness of your healing items, and other abilities that you can use to craft to make yourself better in combat, that sort of thing. And just to preface the gameplay before you even start the game, I do highly recommend you turn off gathering animations. Some will say, oh, that will destroy the immersion, but the fact is you will be doing a lot of like searching bodies, plucking plants, skinning animals. Turning off gathering animations just completely speeds up the process, because if you leave it on, it just becomes a bit laborious otherwise. But the gameplay is good. You have to be a bit more methodical with what you're doing, because you can't just charge in, especially at the start of the game. But once you get to know the mechanics and the combat in the game, you can start to be a bit more aggressive in your approach in the combat. But you have to be a bit more tactile. You have to be a bit more sneaky about things, because you only have spears and bows, and your spears and your bows are pitiful at the start of the game. And that's what I like about it. It's a bit more slow paced compared to like the modern Far Cry games, where you can just charge in and just paint the walls red with bullets. You don't have that option in this game. They introduced an owl you can use to scout enemies, that sort of thing, which is quite cool. It's basically Icaros and Sunin from AC Odyssey and Valhalla, because you can highlight enemies, that sort of thing, and also you can tame animals as well to help you in battle. You increase that ability in the skill tree, so you can start off just like taming wolves, smaller big cats, but then you can increase that ability to tame bears, saber-toothed tigers, that sort of thing. And by the way, you can also ride the bears and the saber-toothed tigers into battle, so you can just ride into a compound, just run everyone over, and then just completely take over as you like throw spears at other enemies, that sort of thing. Let's just say I was grinning ear to ear doing things like that, especially when you ride the woolly mammoths, because they just like knock everyone out of the way, and the physics in the game just add to the sort of comedic value when you do that. But yeah, it just adds more immersion to the time period, that you have to be a bit more careful about it, and you have to like save tribe members, which you get more tribe members where you take over compounds, bonfires, but you also find members of your tribe just sort of like out in the wilderness being captured by the enemy factions, which I find is great. It's more organic compared to other Ubisoft games. The UI is not too intrusive like other Far Cry games either. Like Far Cry 6's UI is just a bit of a headache sometimes, but it's all very serene and up close, brutal. The combat in general is up close and brutal. Like some of the takedown animations with like the different weapons, because like in the other games you get like the takedown with like the machete, and you do get that as well, but you get different animations depending what weapons you're using. So like if you're using the spear, Takar will just jam it right into their chin, almost up through their mouth, that sort of thing. And there's a few times where you're just like, oh bloody hell. And the club, he'll just wallop them in the back of the head, which is just a good bonk noise, if I'm being honest. And also you could throw your weapons as well, which I think it's the first Far Cry games where you could throw your melee weapons, before 5 did it. And it's always good to boomerang your club right into someone's head, and it's just great. It's just a good noise. And of course you can craft more clubs and spears, which is a cool thing. And of course when you get more animal skins, you can upgrade your belt, so you can carry more clubs, you can carry more spears, arrows, that sort of thing. By the end of the game, where I had a fully upgraded quiver, I could carry like 48 arrows, which was more than enough throughout the game for each encounter. And yeah, once you start building up your sort of arsenal, you just do become unstoppable. Of course, you get like other weapons too when you capture lieutenants from the enemy tribes. So you get like I think it's like a gas bomb, which is made from rotten flesh, as well as like fire bombs. And one that you don't get from the other tribe, but it's my personal favorite, is the bee bomb. Completely overpowered, but it's really funny to use, and it's almost like I would play like, I don't know, a Nicolas Cage clip here if I'm not the beast from Wicker Man. But yeah, it's great. It's great fun, and it also takes out a big crowd of them, minus the heavies, because they take a few goes to kill. I would argue that the armored heavy enemies are a pain in the ass in this one more than Far Cry 4 and 3. But once you get the heavy takedown, they don't become much of a problem. And you also get like the throwing knife takedown. But in the case of this game, you don't get throwing knives. You get rock shards. They're basically the same thing. They're just sharpened rocks. You just throw them at enemies. But you start to see the Far Cry formula come into fruition as you get further into the game, and it works so well in this time period. And it's a bit more calm, it's a bit more serene, as I've already said, and you just think on your toes a bit more instead of just shooting things in the head all the time. And of course, you got the different animals you can tame, that sort of thing. And the other thing I noticed too on the map, the bonfires and the compounds, they're not highlighted on the map straight away. You have to go out of your way and find them yourself, which I think is absolutely fantastic. It encourages exploration. There's a massive incentive to explore the map in this game, compared to the other Far Cry games, where the compounds and the towers, they'll be labeled on the map, and you just go to them. Whereas in Far Cry Primal, you actually have to go out of your way to find the compounds and the towers. So you just find side quests, you find other things too, like the rare animals you have to skin to get better stuff, like upgrading all your huts in your village. That's the other thing too. You have to upgrade your village in order to get the ending with all your specialists. And it kind of reminds me of the Hamlet system from AC Valhalla. They obviously took that from Primal, but yeah, you have to find the compounds and stuff on your own. It's not on your map straight away. And I kind of wish that other Far Cry games did this, because otherwise you just get stuck in autopilot. Just go, oh, go to that compound, go to that tower, that sort of thing. Whereas in this one, you kind of move slowly through the world, and everything uncovers organically, because obviously you haven't got GPS. You've got like a map, which even then I'm sure they didn't even, well, they didn't have maps in 10,000 BC, but obviously you take some liberties. But yeah, the gameplay overall is just really, really good in this game, and it makes me want Ubisoft to go back to a historic period, like the Wild West, which was rumored to be Far Cry 5. But I'm digressing a bit. But yeah, let's just finish up here and get into the presentation, shall we? So this game runs in the current, or what was the current iteration of the Dunia engine. The first Far Cry game to be only released on the Xbox One and PS4 during this period, because Far Cry 4, I often forget, was released on the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 somehow. But yeah, it looks great. I think all the Far Cry games have aged very well, especially the Dunia engine era of games. This game looks fantastic, and I know back in the day there was some anger, well, disgruntled people saying, "Oh, they reused the layout of the Far Cry 4 map," and yeah, they have, but it's so different you wouldn't recognize it anyway, unless someone told you online that it's the Far Cry 4 map. You wouldn't know. But yeah, the environments look fantastic. The foliage is just lush and just brilliant. The draw distances with the environments look fantastic. The different variations of the wildlife is amazing. It is kind of like, what if we took like the annoying aspects of the wildlife of Far Cry 3 and 4 and we make a game out of it? It is almost like that. And those bloody eagles are still in this game, by the way. They attack you out of nowhere, although it is quite funny to see them carry a goat off in the distance. But anyway, the visuals look fantastic still for a 10-plus-year-old game. The character models still look good. The animations still look fantastic. The combat animations look brilliant, and just overall the sound design sounds great. You get like a really good environmental sound of like all the wildlife, the wind blowing the trees and the grass, and overall this, like, the sunsets, the sunrises look fantastic. The fire looks fantastic. And just overall, it's just a Far Cry game. Far Cry games just look brilliant. I mean, I played Far Cry 4 fairly recently before this one, and it holds up exceedingly well. All the Far Cry games visually just hold up really, really, really well. And I don't think Ubisoft get enough credit for their Dunia engine, because the Dunia engine is just absolutely brilliant. It's beautiful, and it's great for making these lush environments filled with wildlife, filled with people, and just feeling organic and real, whereas other games, they kind of fumble it with wildlife outside of Rockstar. I feel Ubisoft get like wildlife right in their Far Cry games, for better or worse, depending how annoyed you get with the wildlife. But yeah, Far Cry Primal's presentation overall is great. It's raw, it's gritty, it's beautiful as well, all in one. And that sounds like a contradiction, but it is. But overall, its presentation is fantastic. But final thoughts: Far Cry Primal is just a hugely underrated game. If you've got Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, it's on the Ubisoft Plus, and if you don't, it's quite a cheap game anyway on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And plus, recently they added a patch if you've got a PS4 and a Series X, that it plays at 60 frames 4K. So that's another incentive to play it now. So you don't have to play at 30 FPS anymore. But I hope one day that Ubisoft go back to a historical setting in the Far Cry series, because I think it's brimming with potential. I mean, they could pick from all sorts. They can do medieval, as I said before. I would love for them to do a Western Far Cry game. That would work exceptionally well. But hopefully one day Ubisoft will do another spin-off, and not Far Cry New Dawn. I'm not a fan of Far Cry New Dawn. And just give us a historical setting again. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts of Far Cry Primal. Great game, underrated. If you haven't played it, highly recommend it. Go and get it. Go and play it. That sort of thing. And I'll see you in the next one. Massive thank you for watching my video. Yeah, I do like to go back and talk about older games I've been playing. It's just kind of like what I do at the moment. It's like, I've got an idea for a video. Oh, I'll just talk about the game I played recently, the last few week or so. And sometimes I just don't even think about these ideas for videos of like reviewing old games. I just do it because it's just what I'm playing at the time. But massive thank you for like all the support, all the subscribers. I mean, I've only got like a nearly 300 at this point. It's still a slow burn, I know. But massive thank you. If you like what you like the video, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later. See you later. Bye.